Time series analysis is a very common data science task that you will come across if you are a data scientist somewhere. And the most commonly used time series models is a seasonal ARIMA. Today we would implement seasonal ARIMA in Python, and while we are doing the coding, we'll understand the theory that goes behind it while coding. So before we start with seasonal ARIMA model, we have to understand when do we use a seasonal ARIMA and when do we use a normal ARIMA. When our time series has no seasonality, like this case, we can use only ARIMA model for forecasting. But when our time series has seasonality in it, like this one, we would use a seasonal ARIMA. I have a separate video on ARIMA modeling. Please check out the video. The link is given below in the description box. So let's start with the coding. Let's look at the steps that's required for a seasonal ARIMA. Step 1 is read the data. Step 2 is resampling. Step 3 is stationarity check. I'll talk about why these are required and how we do that in details during the coding time. Step 4 is how to make a series stationary if it is non-stationary. Train test split. Step 6 is hyperparameter tuning. Step 7 is building the ARIMA model in Python. In step 8, we would predict test data. And in step 9, based on the test data prediction, we would see how good our model is. We'll plot it. And then we will predict for the unseen future data. And there are two steps that are very important for modeling. That is how to make a series stationary, that is the step 4. And the step 6, that is hyperparameters of our ARIMA model. And I would discuss about these two in a separate segment, because based on these two, it decides that how good our model would predict. So let's start with it. We'd start with importing some basic libraries like NumPy, Panda, Matplotlib for visualization, and warnings, because some of the model throws an warning. So we would import warnings also. Step 1 is read the data, and there are two things that are very important when we read the data, that we have to parse the date column. Like this column has the date in it, and when we read the data, we have to parse the date column so that the date column is read as a datetime object, not as a normal text. And because in time series model, we need to have the date as a date format. And step 2 is we have to make the date column the index of the data frame. So this is how our data set looks like. We have daily sales data. Step 2 is resampling, where we do some kind of aggregation of the data. Like here we have daily sales data, because sales is generally recorded in a daily basis, but for any sales analysis or reports, the sales is always shown in a monthly format. So in resample, we would convert the daily data to monthly data, and we can do that by using column dot resample. And the resample function takes two arguments. One is ms and another is dot sum. Ms is the rule that says that how the data would be sampled. Like if we have a daily data and we want to make it monthly data, we would write ms or m. There are some other rules, like A stands for annual data, M stands for month end data, and ms stands for month beginning. We can have weekly or daily aggregations also. So when we mention ms and mention dot sum, that means we would sum all the data and take the monthly sum total. And we can also take dot mean, but in this case we need a sum because we need the total monthly sales. So here we can see that we have the total sales of each of the month. Here it is showing only the month beginning date, first of every month, but the sales is of total month's sale. It's not that particular day's sale. We can plot the time series by using ts.plot, where we can see that we have trend as well as seasonality. Step 3 is stationarity check. Stationarity is a primary assumption for any time series model like ARIMA or seasonal ARIMA. In stationarity check, we have to check whether our series is stationary or not. That means we have to check whether our series has trend and seasonality or not. A series that has no trend or no seasonality is a stationary series. But our series has trend as well as seasonality, so it's a non-stationary time series. So there is one statistical test that we can perform to see if our series is stationary or not beside visual checks. The test is called AD Fuller test, and we can import AD Fuller from statmodel.tsa stat tools, and if we pass our time series in AD Fuller function, it returns a p-value, and if the p-value is greater than 0.05, that means that the series is non-stationary. So this test here, p-value gives a 0.09, so it confirms our visual judgment that the series is non-stationary. We can decompose our series in terms of trend and seasonality and view the trend and seasonal factors separately also. So now that we know that our series is non-stationary, we have to make it stationary, because we have to make a series stationary first, then only we can do any kind of forecasting on that. So how can we make a series stationary? There are multiple methods of doing it. So how to make a series stationary? There are different ways of making a series stationary. The most common two ways are differencing the series and taking log. So what does differencing means? When we say we difference the series by one period, it means that suppose we have monthly sales values, and if we say we want to difference it by period of 1, that means we are subtracting February sales from March sales. That means we are subtracting the last period's sales from the current period sales. So after differencing we get 749, that is the difference between March and February sales. Similarly, if we from March sale, if we subtract April sale, we get 61. So this is the first order differenced series. So if we, by this way, if we subtract all the sales by its previous period, we get the differenced series. So in Python we can do that by using time series dot diff, and in periods we mention 1. That means we are subtracting just the last period's data from current period's data. And if we difference the series, it successfully removes the trend component in it. If we plot it, we can see that the trend is removed, but we can see that the seasonality factor is still there. And for removing the seasonal factor, seasonality of a series, we can do a difference. We can difference the series by a period of 12. Period of 12, because this is an annual data. So we have 12 months sales. So it has a period seasonality of a period 12. So when we say we seasonally differentiate a value, that means we subtract February 14 sales from February 2015 sales. That would give the seasonal difference. So these are the seasonal difference value, where we subtract March last year sales from March this year sales. So if we do a seasonal differentiation, then that would remove the seasonal elements of a series. So here I am doing the same thing, ts.diff period equals to 12. If we have a quarterly seasonality, then the period would be 4. And if we plot it, we can see that the seasonality is removed to a great extent. Now there is another thing, that it still does not look completely stationary. Another thing is that we can take a log. Now what does a log do? If we have a time varying seasonality, like we can see in our series that the seasonality is increasing as the time increases. So this is called a time varying seasonality. If we have a time varying seasonality, that can be removed by taking a log. np.log, and we pass the time series and we save it as ts log. And if we plot that series, you can see that the seasonality, the time varying seasonality is reduced. So we have done 3 processing on the series. We have taken a log, we had to take difference of order 1, and a seasonal difference to make the series stationary. Now we'll go back to our modeling steps. So the next step would be train, test, split and model building, etc. But now onwards we would not use the original time series TS or the difference time series where we have logged and taken two differences. We would not take this. We would take only the series where we have taken a log. So TS underscore log is the series that we are going to work on since now. But the factor that we had to difference it once and seasonal difference it would be given as an input when we build the model. Okay, so for now we are taking the series that has been logged. So now we can see that the time series, not the original series, that the logged series has to be divided into train and test. So when we say we divide a series into train and test, that means we have this entire blue line part of data, and initial 64 months I would take it as the train data where I would build my model on, and based on this model build I would predict the future values for the test part of data, that is from 64th month to the 84th month. And so for test part of the data I have original values and also the predicted values, so I can do a model evaluation based on the test part of data. So when I achieve my final model, then I would build the final model on this entire data set, and I would use this model to predict the unseen future. So for now we have to divide the data into train part and test part in Python, and we can do that by using simple subsetting rules where I pass colon 64, that means first month to 64th month would be subsetted and saved as train data, and 64th month to the last 84th month would be stored as the test data. Sorry, this would not be 64, it would be first month to 63rd month, because in subsetting rule this is not included, this is excluded. So now I have the train and test data that I would use for model building. Seasonal ADIMA. So now seasonal ADIMA has a seasonal and ADIMA component. So let's understand what is a seasonal ADIMA model. ADIMA has three parts in it: AR, MA and integrated part. So AR says that a value YT, says value of December sales, is correlated with the sales of November, October and previous months. So this is auto regression of the series with its own past values. That logic is captured in the AR component of a time series, in a AR component of a ADIMA model. But the now question is, how many previous months should we consider when we are trying to predict the value of sales, or how many previous months of sales influence the sales of December? That is called the order of P. And classically we find the order of P from a plot called PACF plot. But here I will not use a PACF plot, because PACF plots sometimes can give confusing results, and we should not solely depend on a plot to find the orders of a model. We would see how we can do that in much more efficient way later. So this is example of a PACF plot that we can use to theoretically find out the different orders of AR. The next component is MA component. Now MA component says that a value YT is not only dependent on its previous values but also on the errors of its previous values. And in similar way we need to have a Q order, for which we can say that how many previous periods error can be used to identify the current period's value. So similarly there is a plot called ACF plot that is used in classical methods to find the order of MA, but obviously we will not use the plots. And the next component is I. I stands for integrated. Now we have seen that we have differenced the data to remove trend and seasonality. So when we difference a data to make it stationary, To achieve the original series, we have to integrate the data back, then only we can reach the original series. And unless we reach the original series, we cannot make any forecast in terms of the original values. So here I stands for integrated, but basically it is showing that how many times we have differentiated. So how many times we have to integrate back to get back to our original series. So actually it should be D, but we call it I because we are integrating it back to get back the original series. So now we know that ARIMA has three components, AR, I and MA. So seasonal ARIMA also has three components. One is seasonal AR, seasonal integration and seasonal moving average components. And similarly we can, like in case of ARIMA, we use the ACF and PACF plots to identify the orders of seasonal components. We can use the plots to identify the orders of PDQ, seasonal as well as normal ARIMA. So now the next question is, how do we identify the best possible hyperparameters that give me the best result in terms of prediction? I have discussed how we get the hyperparameters of ARIMA, that is how we get the PDQ of ARIMA, and capital PDQ, and M is the seasonal period. Here it is annual seasonality, so M equals to 12. So how we get all these combinations? So for time being, let's assume that I have got all these hyperparameters by using some magical power. But after we successfully build our model on these parameters, I would show how I have achieved my how to get the optimum PDQ values. So our PDQ is equal to 1 and capital PD is 1, Q is 0 and M is equals to 12. M is 12 we know because our seasonal period is of 12 months. So now we would build the SARIMA model. For that I would import SARIMAX from statmodel.tsa and I will build a model called model where I would pass the trained dataset in SARIMAX function and give the orders of ARIMA 111 and seasonal orders as PDQ and M equals to this 12 is the M, that is the number of seasonal period, and this is the seasonal differentiation. Now please note that when we are writing giving the D, this is the D. This is the D of ARIMA model. I write only 1 because I have done a difference of period 1. But here when I am giving the orders of seasonal differentiation, that is the capital D, I will not write 12 because I have done a 12 period differentiation. I would still write 1 because it was a seasonal differentiation, but we differenced only 1 times. So here also it would be 1, not 12. And this 12 is M, this is the seasonal period, that is we have 12 months in a year and this data has an annual seasonality, that's why this is 12. Now we would give enforced stationarity false and enforced invertibility equals to false, and we would fit the model. And after we have fit the model, we would predict our test part of the data. So for that I would use model.predict. I would give a start date and an end date. So start, I would give the length of the trained data set, that is I will start prediction from the 64th month and I would go till the end, that is to 83rd month. So for that I write length of TS minus 1. So I have got my prediction. Now if we see the predicted values, it shows 8, 9. This is not the same scale in which sales is originally recorded because we have taken a log of the original series in the trained data set. So for that I have to take an anti-log, and we can do that by using np.exponential, and we pass the predicted value that has the log version. So when I take an anti-log, we can see the prediction comes back to its original units. So now with this prediction I would do a model evaluation in step 9, and we would use root mean squared error, and for that I would import mean squared error from sklearn.matrices, and in mean squared error I would pass the original test data and the data that I have predicted by using my model, and I would square root that entire mean squared error. So I would get my root mean square that is very high. Okay, so there is one mistake that I have done, that is here in test data I have taken the logged series, but we are building the model on train. We are not doing any function on the test dataset. So in test dataset we want the original values. We don't want the logged values. So in test dataset we will not take the logged series. It should be the original series without log. So now if I do the prediction and if I find the root mean square error, we can see it's 632. The error is 632. So how good is 632 as an error? So to analyze the error, we can find the mean of the test dataset. The mean of the test dataset is around 8000 and the standard deviation of the test dataset is 1300. Okay, so we can say that our error is much lower than the mean average value and it's even lower than the standard deviations. So the error is much lower than one standard deviations away from the mean. So we can say that this is a good prediction. Now we can plot the predicted value and the original value and the trained value. By that we use TS dot, this is the trained data, and then we would plot the actual test data that is given in orange, and the green color is the predicted value. So we can see that our predicted value quite matches the actual data, so it's a pretty good model. So now the next step is we have to predict the unseen future data, that is we have to predict this part. So for predicting that part I would build a final model that would be exactly same as this model. The only difference is that we will not pass the trained data, rather we would pass the entire data set so that it has the entire data to work on. So we would create a new model called final data based on the entire data set, the logged version, and we would have the prediction. We take the anti-log and if we plot, so this is the prediction of future data. Now we know how we can build a model, how we can predict future. Now the one thing and the most important thing that is left is how did I get the hyperparameters for PDQ and capital PDQ. We can do that by using ACF and PACF plots. But ACF and PACF plots should not be used solely because sometimes the combinations of PDQ are not clearly visible in these plots. So I use a more result driven way to identify the PD and Qs, and I do a grid search. I would use a for loop where it will run through all the possible combinations of PDQs, and the one that has the least RMSE would be chosen as our final model. So for that I would import iterative tools and I would give all the different combinations of PDQ that can happen. Okay, so I have said that P, that is the AR order of ARIMA model, lies between 0 to 2, and AR model of seasonal ARIMA lies between 0 and 2, etc. So I have given, you can give even wider ranges of it. I have given small ranges because it takes a lot of time to run. So you can give any range you want to give. Okay, so we would give all the possible values you can think of in PD and Q, and then we would create a list that would have the combinations of PD and Q. So we say iter tools dot product, it would give the Cartesian product, it would give the combinations of PDQs, and it will stored as small PDQ combinations. In the second line it will run through all the combinations of capital PD and Q, and it will save as the seasonal PDQ order. So we can see the length of this is 192. There are 192 different combinations of PDQ. We can also look at the combinations. So we can see it has all the possible combinations of PDQ. Now we would create some empty list, RMSE, order 1 and order 2. Now I would write a for loop. So here I am saying that PDQ would run through all the possible combinations of PDQ in this list, and capital PDQ will run through all the combinations of capital PDQ given here, and it will build a SERIMA model on the trained data, and it will take all the possible combinations, all the 92 by 192 by 192 possible combinations of PD and Q, and it will build a model. Then based on that model it will give a prediction, and that predicted would be prediction should be saved as spread log, because that is the prediction of the log values. Now we take the anti-log of the log value, so this is the final prediction. Now we would calculate the mean square error based on these predicted values and the actual test data, and that would be saved in error. And finally I would have all the combinations of PDQ and error stored in these empty lists. So if we run this line of code, it would take some time, and here I am just storing the results in a data frame called results, and I have exported the results as seasonal ARIMA results so that I can compare them. So now we can see we have all the possible combinations of PDQs and their respective RMSEs. If we sort the data, we can see that this combination gives the best result in terms of RMSE. So I would use this pair of PDQ values for my final model. So when I was using these orders, the error that I got was 632, but it says that if I use this order the error would be 584. So I would use that particular combinations of PD and Q, and we can see that our error is minimized.